Record to the cloud. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is the Misfit Call, the daily awakening call, getting out of your effing way. And the F could stand for fun, frustration, fatigued, fascinated, or possibly, maybe the F we all might think it stands for. Today is Sunday. We just started this weekend call because we have some amazing souls who said, I want weekends. So we started some weekends. And today what we're going to do is, well, let me just go ahead and share the screen. Share. How do I share? Over here, click there, click here, and share. So can you see that? Cool. Teaching in a phrase. You know, as the blessed to have been the MC of the 2019 event for the ANMP, one of the things that Curtis has done, and it's big shoes to step into, was he would give a quote. And one of the things he taught me is that a quote is a teaching in a phrase. And one of the things I worked hard to do was to make the quote a little more personal for me, a little more personal for the presenter, and relate it back to the story based on their story. So what I wanted to do today is that what life lesson we reveal. Right? So if people were to use a quote to describe us, which one would they use? Now I know sometimes they would, a quote they might use on mine is, let your message be found in your mess. So we may miss the life lessons in a sentence. So I've gone through some of the quotes that I like, and we may have discussion about them right now or at the end. So if one of the quotes hits you and you want to, if you want to chat about it now, let's just do that, because that's what this is designed for. This is the engagement part of it. So Eric Hoffer, and I'll tell you a little bit about Eric Hoffer in just a little bit, but in the book, when I listened to Bob Proctor when he was doing his trainings, this was almost 15, 16 years ago, maybe even more, 18 years ago, when we hired him as a mentor, Michelle and I did. When he talked about the book, Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles, he opened up with this: in a world of change, the learner shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. This is the challenge. We had this happen yesterday. We had the learned on a call yesterday, right here with us, but we had the learner, Kevin, give us the little insight into Telegram, right? So we had learned, we were prepared for a world, and Kevin showed us that in a 2-day period, he had 171, 121 subscribers to this post called Eric's Keys to Success, and it was on that app software called Telegram. So I was now I have it. When I went to go download it, it already showed that I had it at one time, but I was the learned. I wasn't properly prepared for today because I had no idea you could go get 121 subscribers of people just monogramming you, not monogramming you, monologuing out to them great information. So that was pretty cool. So what is this world of change that we're living in right now that we as the learned may not be prepared for, but we need to become the learner? We're constantly learning. I understand that. Maybe do we need to narrow down our learning? Right? That's the challenge. If this is everything that you know and everything you don't know is out here, the second you become aware of something new, you've now increased the amount of stuff that you know you don't know. Right? This was here, and now all of a sudden you learn something new, and there's all this new reference of what you've learned, what you still now know that you don't know. And then we constantly keep going and we keep expanding. What if we were to just take this circle of knowledge that's like this, and we just got very good at what we wanted to get good at? Right? We always say in the process of success, the rich is in the niche. So what is this niche? What is this talent? What is this secret sauce that you do so well? What is this secret sauce that only you can provide? Emerson says there's something you do so well, people wish they could do it half as well. Right? And it's not about what you're becoming, it's about what you already have that allows you to become more of what you want. Right? You hear me all the time reference, I'm a farm boy. I haven't been on a farm in 30 years, but the farm boy philosophy still comes through every day. I can talk about building fences. I can talk about herding cattle. I can talk about feeding chickens, because it all relates back to life, right? Everything we learned where? In kindergarten. So, and that came true when I was on stage at the A&MP. I couldn't get people to settle down a little bit. And I said, if you can hear me, say shh. And the whole audience went shh, and it was instantly silent. That's what a kindergarten teacher uses. And it reminded me of that phrase, everything I needed to know, everything I learned in kindergarten. So what is this world that you're no longer prepared for? That maybe you need to learn, or just decide what world you're going to prepare yourself for. Does that make sense? Any questions on that one? Does that pop up? Does that show up something? And if not, that's okay. We can discuss it all at the end. But I just want to share these. These are some big ones that have impacted my life throughout the years. I think this is a good one for us. We've been hitting this quite a bit lately. The hardest arithmetic to master is that which enables us to count our own blessings. How many times we are in this compare-itis, right? This is the word that keeps popping up again and again and again and again. And Leslie brought it up a week ago, seems like months ago, but the word surrender. When do we surrender to our own greatness in this moment? When do we decide that right now, I'm freaking enough? Now I'm going to be more, but if we constantly, we go back to Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. If I'm worried about what I'm becoming, I'm missing out in the now. And the only way you can become more is when? In the now. Count the blessing you have to be able to become more. And it's all about energy. It is all about state. It is all about the ability and the awareness and the just the desire you have. Can you become more in this second? Yes, in this second, you can say, I want more. And then all of a sudden, the cells that you have in your body at 10 million cells a second reorganize and have a little bit more dopamine, a little bit more receptors for all of the good stuff, epinephrine. And we start to become happier. Everyone smile right now. If you're happy, tell your face. Everyone smile right now. And if we smile right now, guess what happens? We can smile a little bit more in this moment. Yeah, but Sean, my life is miserable. Compared to what? My life is joyful. Compared to what? The hardest arithmetic is to master that which enables us to count our own blessings.
Okay, so this one hits me.
Okay.
Because, and I want to apologize. So yesterday when I was talking, there's something that I've been working on, and I slipped right back into the old pattern. So it was right back to that. I made the comment about, and then I had to take the stupid pony back to the hospital. What the heck? Really? That's the thing that I should be grateful for, that I do so well, that is my main income. And I wasn't grateful for it, and I wasn't counting my blessings, and I want to apologize, because that is something that I have been working on to change. I am a work in progress. That's gotten pretty good, but I caught myself. I did it yesterday, and I did it the day before. And I'm getting faster at catching it, but when I find myself in frustration or aggravated, I slip backwards. So apologies.
So here's the great news. I heard that, but here's the thing that I heard different about that. Otherwise, I'd have brought it up. You know me. You
Yes.
know the relationship we have. I would have called you on that. And it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter the environment we're in, because it's about who we are. But I heard that, and you know what I heard? You know what I saw when you said that? I saw this other Leslie kind of like leave you and say that. And you, the observer, because that's who caught it, was laughing at it, going, oh, it's still here. It's still here. Seriously, to me, it was a visual so clear that I knew it wasn't you saying it.
thank you for that, because it was the drunk monkey on the
It
shoulder.
was, absolutely. It was a bunch of drunk monkeys. It was a herd of them. I don't know what you call a gaggle of monkeys, but it was so funny to me, because otherwise, I'd have called you out, because you're like, I'm sure there was a part of you at a subconscious level says, Sean heard that and he didn't say anything, because I knew it wasn't you. That's the part that was interesting. And I'm so proud of you that you said that in this environment this morning, because it showed up, and I instantly went, wait a minute, that's not Leslie. Who said that? Who said that? So
it's
yeah.
annoying. It is annoying. Trying hard. Under construction still.
But isn't that cool? But here's the thing. That was just a very simple, acceptable, because what it was to make the rest of us feel comfortable that you were not in the place you said you wanted to be, to pay honor and respect. And there's a part of you that thinks maybe being in the truck and not being totally attentive is not being honorable to the moment, but you're being honorable to you. And we're okay, because you can still hear the message. It's not like we said, okay, you're going to have to do open heart surgery on me, so I need you someplace present. I don't need you in a truck. So again, think about why maybe that word comes out, why that phrase comes out. It's because this part I do know about you, the honor and respect that you want to give to somebody when you are in a conversation. And part of that was pulled you out. And so the easiest way to do that is to beat yourself up saying, I got to take the stupid pony back. Well, no, it was like, I really wish I could have been sitting at a comfortable desk with notes in front of me to be able to engage in this to the level that I'm supposed to. Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah. Now, but I'm so proud that you actually caught yourself on that, because I did see it yesterday, and had it been what was previously the way you described things, I hope you'd have known. I would have called you, but it wasn't you. It was the drunk monkey, and it was totally visible to me.
Cool. That helps.
Eric Hoffer says, anger is, so I share this with people from time to time. Anger is the prelude to courage. And here's the funny thing. The way they hear this tells me so much about the way they hear everything. Think about this. Anger is the prelude to courage. Most people are like, what does that mean? This means that anger is that moment when we are out of peace, out of step, out of alignment, and we decide to do something, get off our asses and go do something. This is when we step right. Here's everything you have, and here's where success is. Here's your comfort zone, and here's where success is. In order to get out here, we do have to become angry. We have to become angry with who we are in this moment. So maybe part of the prospecting language that you could say is, listen, is where you're at enough for you to be angry? Angry for change. I don't know if it's change with me, what I do, the process I have, but is in this moment enough? Are you angry enough? One of the greatest marketing, remember when people used to run ads? When Tony Robbins first started off, all of these ads that used to go in the newspapers about events and everything else, because that was the way they marketed before the internet, the greatest response he had to any ad that he ever placed was, are you mad? And that headline would get more people to respond and show up at his events than any other ad he would ever run. Why? Because in order for change to take place, in order for us to become who we want to become, in order for us to step into the new us, we have to be mad enough to let go of the old us. Because it's what's holding us. It's the language. It's the self-talk that's keeping us stuck. Any change we have to do, there has to be a level of frustration. We started dancing yesterday. Yeah, put that little thought in your head. We found something on Amazon Prime, and we did a Zumba dance, Zumba for beginners, like going to church. I don't know what it was, but it was music, and we're dancing, and we're starting to click everything and all of that stuff. I got to tell you, now it was dancing, but it would have been a comical. You could have just turned the music off and just videoed me. It would have been a great exercise for your gut, because you'd have been dying laughing, trying to watch me move my arms and look at Leslie. She's even laughing now, just the thought of it. But here's the thing. Mason was in the middle of us, and he's like, I don't know which one he was more embarrassed, him actually doing it or watching his mom and dad on either side of him doing it. But this is all self-talk. So I had to go do it for the 15 minutes that we could do it, right? Cardio. But it was, in order to have the courage, I had to be angry enough to not be, to be unsatisfied where I was. So what is the anger you need to muster up to step into your courage? That doesn't have to be full-blown rage, but it is a change. And your old self looks at you and goes, who do you think you're becoming? And here's a little bit about Eric Hoffer, American Moral Social. Here's the thing. He was granted the Presidential Medal of Freedom in February 1983. You know when he passed away? March. Should you get the Medal of Freedom the month before you pass away? The only reason you get the Medal of Freedom is because of everything you've ever done in your life. Why wasn't he recognized beforehand? I say that to say this. I hope that you become motivated enough, angry enough, to get your own Medal of Freedom today. What would it mean for you to have the Medal of Freedom hung around you saying, I'm in control, I'm more me, I have more of what I want and less of what I don't? And there's a 19-year-old on here that you can have that today, my love. Today you can start this. Just be aware, become more aware of the language that we use around ourselves. Alan Watts says, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and dance with it. Be acceptable to the change. When you dive into that, go, this is going to be fun. You know, we look at oh, what's his name? William Hoff. They call him the Iceman, right? He's been able to regulate his body and climb to the the first stage of Mount Everest, 13,000 feet or 15,000 feet in his shorts, his underwear. How can you climb to that elevation without any, and everybody else is in parkas? He's been able to regulate himself. He's been able to dive into that. He's been able to plunge into that. He's been able to follow into all of this and make his life a little bit better of a place. But that's because he's decided to control his body. What can you dive into today? What is the change that you need to dive into today, to plunge into today, to join in the dance of a new experience? Think about that. And these are quotes, right? And in these quotes are life lessons. It's why I absolutely love them. And it's why I have, I don't know, 487 quotes so far that I absolutely love and use on a regular basis in my own life. Alan Watts was a British-American philosopher who interpreted and popularized Eastern philosophy for the Western audience. Born in the United States and moved to England from 1938, began Zen training in New York back in 1938. Tell me that wasn't a little bit of a change. Zen training in New York, even today, but I think it's a little bit more accepted. Ken Blanchard, here's one. Your role as a leader is more important than you might think. A true leader has the power to help people become winners. Now, based upon what we understand, what it takes to help people, what it takes for us to become winners, right? What we have to give up. I think it was Hoffer who also said the amount of unbelief necessary for true belief is staggering. Everybody is a winner. We hear that. But how do they become winners? There has to be a certain amount or a ton of unbelief necessary in their life because of the way they were raised, because of the programming that exists. Every individual, if they lived in a reasonably positive household, no fewer than 117,000 times, research says, they heard that no, it can't work, no, you're not good enough, no, you're no good, you're just like everybody else, you'll never amount to anything, 117,000 times. And then we get into business world and they go, be a winner. Their programming, their addiction to approval just isn't, there has to be so much unprogramming. It's not personal development, it's personal undevelopment. personal. You, the individual, has to undevelop the wiring that has been established in you. It's why when we have individuals who are absolutely at their formative age, right? The brain isn't the brain isn't really hardwired until about age 26. So there's a couple of us on here, not me, that still have, they're still in the wiring stage. They can still set up the way they want to believe in life and make it a lot easier for them. But there's still some unbelief that's necessary. We are all leaders. Every one of us. It doesn't matter what rank you have in your business. If you're part of this human race, somebody looks to you for guidance. You are a leader. And in understanding that you are this leader, you are this guide, you are this person who somebody comes up to and says, hey, can you tell me how you got over that hump back there? How you got around that detour in your life? Because I see one coming up in my life and I'd really love to know the hack. What did you do? If you've helped one person avoid a delay in their life, avoid a challenge, if you've helped one person with your personal experience, you were responsible for helping people on their path to becoming a winner. Our role is more important than we might think. A true leader has the power to help people become winners. But in order for them to see us as winners, what state do we have to be in? Right? Every lesson is always a learning lesson. If it was a positive lesson, it was a learning lesson. Do more of that. If it was a lesson where we were in failure, do less of that. And again, if any of these jump out at you and they hit you in your heart, just pop in and share it, because this is part of the unwiring to rewire. If one of these sit in sync with you in time and space. How many of us have heard the speech or about the book, Make Your Bed? This 4-star Admiral, William McRaven, talks about it. And so he asked this question in his book, it's the little things that count. What would you ask this? What would you ask a prospect? What would you ask somebody on your team? What will the world look like after you change it? If we want to start diving deeper into a relationship, if you want to take your rapport to a whole new level, right? It's not about what I know, it's about what you can uncover in yourself. What would the world look like after you change it? He was having his conversation, it was with a Texas group, because I think it was the Horn, so I'm not sure which one that is, A&M or who it was, so don't quote me on that. But he said the average person will meet 10,000 people. Meet 10,000 people. That means you have 10,000 chances to influence the world around you, not only for you, but for generations to come. Think about that. A simple smile may help somebody go back home to their family when we all have read the stories that this was the day they were going to end their life because they didn't think anybody ever cared about them. And you saved a family from tragedy and heartbreak that you'll never, ever, ever, never, ever know. But yet that person and their family, 2 generations from now, will wind up helping one of your great-great-grandchildren. How is that possible? Is it impossible? If it's not impossible, then guess what it is? It's possible. What will the world look like after you change it? Paulo Coelho, absolutely love him. The Alchemist, he's written so many different books, but The Alchemist is one of them. I absolutely love Manuscript Found in Accra that he created. But here's some of this is from Manuscript Found in Accra. Defeat ends when we launch into another interesting battle. Failure has no end. It is a lifetime choice. So every defeat, every time we have been beaten, every time we have lost. Leslie started off the call this morning. She was defeated when she realized what she had said and realized the totality of the changes where she was, and that old drunk monkey showed back up. but it was a defeat. It wasn't a failure, because the defeat ended as soon as she recognized it and said, I need to get better. And soon as she recognized that, she entered into a new battle, the new battle of becoming more aware of the drunk monkey, the new battle of becoming aware of it. And she even said it, that the time from when recognition to engaging in the new battle was so much shorter than it had been in the past. You get this? When we start to understand at a cellular level the awakenings and the awarenesses that we have in our own life, and the stories that run in our own life, and that we recognize we are the author, we are the narrator, we are the reader, and we get to decide which one of those positions we get to take. Are we the author? Are we the narrator? Are we just sitting there repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and reading the script that has come to us called our past? Or are we the author that says, here's the new? For Leslie to say, come on and say, I apologize. The apology, I want to be very clear for everybody, wasn't to us, it was to herself. And in that, because when we apologize to ourselves saying, hey, I recognize that. That was an interesting dialogue. I choose not to have that anymore. It was apologizing to the soul, to the tree, to the seedling that's growing right now, saying, I'm sorry, I covered you up for a day and the grass started to turn a little yellow. Let me remove the cover. Nobody lights a candle and puts it under a bushel basket, but sometimes we do. Failure has no end. It's a lifetime choice. Just choose to always enter into a new, interesting battle. It's what we do on a daily basis. And so here's why we need community. Here's why we need each and every one of us. The community says, I got you. Take a break. We're in the new battle. Breathe. Here's a hug. I got you. I'll be your medic for right now. Let me mend that broken idea with a kiss, a hug, a word of love, a word of encouragement. We need each other. We need to have people who will lift us up, who will give us a hand up when we've gotten lost. We need sometimes people to jump down in the hole with us because they've gotten out before. That's really what a lot of us are. If somebody comes to us for mentoring, we're hole jumpers. We will jump in the hole with you. Why'd you jump in the hole? I wanted you to get me out. I've been down here before. I know how to get out. Don't worry. It's really like that. I know how to get out. We can jump down in the hole. The challenge is too many people jump down in the hole with us, and then they start bitching and complaining with us, and nobody knows how to get out of the hole. Or they walk by because they've never been in a hole before, and they go, I'll send you help back. Every time Bob shares an experience, references somebody, refers to an experience, an education, a learning process he's had, he's jumping in the hole with us. And he's going, here's the rope out. Here's the ladder out. It's this method that I've experienced. He's sharing us his way out. Every time I share, or Leslie shares, or any one of us shares, when Rob pulls his notebook and he's got his notes from 20 years ago where Jim Rohn has signed it, that's him saying, I can jump in the hole with you. Failure is not a permanent thing. It's defeat that we're worrying about. We be defeated. Let us be on our way. Yep, lost that one. Got a stripe, got the scar. The scars we show are more powerful than the sword that created them. The scars is what puts fear into our enemy, not the sword. The scars prove you have been through the battle. Ooh, I'm getting all goosebumps. In his book, he talks about Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, who shall I send? And who will go before us? And I said, here I am, send me. This is what they teach the Navy SEALs. This is what they teach the Navy SEALs. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, who shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. How many of you stand up each morning and say that? Here I am, send me. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, but send me. Applying your philosophy and living your promise to you. The fear. Here's the fear of engaging in quotes like this. The death to our old self. Everything we have learned up to this moment is who we believe we are. Who we are becoming is somebody totally different. If we look back from December, from when we started this, 2000, I don't know how long these recordings people will listen to them, but 2018, we started this in December. Up until this point, look at your life. Everything that has happened has gotten you to this point. But there's that old saying that says nothing fails like success. If you do what you did yesterday, you cannot achieve what you want tomorrow. If you do what you did yesterday, nothing fails like success. It's why we have to journal, because in the moments of our championship, we forget what got us there, and we're destined to repeat the same thing. And it's also why it's important to journal, because in the moments of our not success, of our battle that we've been defeated, that we're going to step into a new interesting battle, we need to recognize where the fault were. That's why they have the military academy. They study previous mindsets and histories and what worked and what didn't work. And if that didn't work, how can I amend it and adapt it? How can I make it a new interesting battle? Because if I use that pattern and I'm on the side of the defeated one and I'm looking at it from that aspect, if I do the same thing, nothing fails like success. So the fear, the death to our old self is the big challenge. The realization of how long we lost already. I put a quote out this morning. I was reading letters from Seneca. I don't know where this stuff has been my whole life. It's been around since, the 265 BC. It's just coming into my life, maybe because now I'm finally smart enough to comprehend it at a deeper level for me. But it says, people fear death, failing to realize all of the time we wasted has already been put in the hands of death. Let that one sink in. The sadness is that how much time we've already lost. And we can sit there and say, I should have done this. I could have done this. We have to get through that. That's a phase we have to get through. We can't go back and change all of that, but we can take a step forward and make a new excited future. How simple it is to take control back over our decisions. And then the new normal, being the example for others. That's why people would come up to me and they say, I don't know how you remember all this stuff. The reason I remember all of the phrases and all of the sayings is because it's a reminder for me. It's very selfful in my own decision making, is to be able to remind myself to have these philosophies, these simple one sentence philosophies that get me to have to ask the drunk monkey, so what do you say about this? And then say the phrase, the quote, and the drunk monkey goes, I don't know. I can move on. It's a way I found for me to have a dialogue with the drunk monkey that says, answer me this. And the drunk monkey has no answer. And now, after 20 years of asking the drunk monkey quotes, it kind of just goes, so when I say the words, ask me this, it just kind of goes, I don't know. And it just walks away. And, and we sort of I get to move on. But he does show up. He's always tapping me on the shoulder. We just have to know that he's there to protect us, because sometimes when he does show up, it is to protect me. And I can tell you he's very happy when that happens. Most of the time it's say, have a nice day. So there you go. There's the philosophy of what we talked about this morning. Life always waits for some form of crisis before revealing itself at its most brilliant. How many of us have experienced that? Yesterday, when Leslie courageously shared what she shared, that was a crisis, because it caused her to focus on it. It caused her to focus on it and think about it in such a way that it revealed to herself life at its most brilliant. She now recognized it. Like she said, it's happened faster than it ever happened before, or it's getting faster every single time. But isn't that our life at its brilliance, saying that I do have this? I can control this. I can be more in charge of what happens throughout my day. Life always waits for some form of crisis before revealing itself at its most brilliant. Thoughts, comments? Pretty cool how a phrase can just do that to us, isn't it? And I'll throw this PDF up inside of Daily Awakening. Was it, let me ask this, because this is typically different than what I've done in the past. Was this of value? Was this something that allowed you to engage more in your own dialogue with yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. I really liked all these quotes.
Cool.
It stirred the pot.
And that's the thing, right? Was sometimes, how many of us, when we're cooking, it says make sure you scrape the sides, right? Because that's the part that we need. It could change the recipe.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also like scraping the sides when it's after the brownie mix was made, right? Licking the beaters.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, that brought back memories from childhood.
Right, right. The wooden spoon, because we didn't have silicone spatulas.
No. Mm. Come on, Charlie, where are you? You know you've got something to say. That was too deep of a conversation.
Yeah, I was thinking with your last quote there, what life is always waiting. Juxtaposed against the drunk monkey, I think is the part of us that John Wellwood talks about in Love and Awakening, where he says, he stresses the point that we're always looking to engage a worthy adversary. We're always looking for the perfect challenge to something that we're trying to solve, something we're trying to learn about that we didn't quite get polished to perfection in early life. So at the same time life is waiting for us, there's a part of us that's itching to get into battle with somebody someplace, and we'll identify that person across a crowded room as the perfect person to become our worthy adversary, or we'll end up being married to them, or we'll end up working for them, or whatever. We'll find them in our therapy sessions or whatever. But so at the same time, the drunk monkey's trying to keep us out of trouble. There's a part of us, I think, if Wellwood's theory is correct, and it seems to be my experience with people, that there's that part of us that's looking into taking the leap into the crevasse to see if we can get out of it again. It's the part of us that's growing. It's just like the 6-month-year-old or whatever age we start to walk, where when you fall down, you don't stay down, you get up, and for some reason there's something driving us to learn how to walk. So there's something about mind or brain or whatever that keeps us reaching out to wrestle with something by which we'll learn something new. So that's what that quote made me think about.
Well, it goes back to that there's not a blade of grass that's growing that's going to say, you know what, I'm going to be the same as yesterday. It can't be. Everything is growing or it's dying. There is no in between. And in that battle, in that constant status of grow, right? We're either growing in the good or growing in the bad. That's what we constantly want that challenge. We're designed to grow. We're designed to enhance. And there's some people, right? The antagonist, that we call it a superpower, but imagine the person, and this was, we talked about this, and I'm trying to, A Bark Up the Wrong Tree by, his last name is Bark, and I forget what his first name is, but Barking Up the Wrong Tree, he talked about this is some people's superpower. Imagine if there's people who always criticize, and they're very good at criticizing, but imagine if they're the one that's the CPA for a large financial corporation, and they're constantly there. Their gift is to find where we've done things wrong in accounting. And we always say, well, if we need to find it, give it to Sally. Sally's the best at that. Boy, she can find anything, but that's her superpower. But yet in a general conversation at the Christmas party, Sally's standing by herself because she's going to criticize you. Your buttons are off there, and your socks don't match your shoes, or whatever it is. But in her niche, that's a superpower. So yeah, life is always waits for some kind of crisis before it reveals itself brilliantly. And that's what we just need to be aware of, find our niche. And I love that. Yes, we find them across the room and we may marry them. Oh, that's funny. Does anybody have a quote that they like go back to, or maybe a phrase, a passage that inspires them, something they use on a regular basis? One of the ones that usually comes out in a conversation with me is, who you are speaks so loud, I don't need to hear what you're saying. It's the thing that people will say, people will share, reveal more about them in the unspoken word than it does in the spoken word. Add to your resume, professional pot stirrer. Got it.
The one that I habitually refer to, I don't know if it's always wise or not, but is one of these days you're going to look back on all this and laugh, so why wait?
Absolutely. Yeah, if we're going to laugh if we're going to like each other 6 months from now, we will laugh at this then. So what are we waiting for? Absolutely. And I think some of these, they give us a chance. This just popped into my head because as you said that, Bob, we say it, but we're no longer, I don't know if this is we're no longer the sayer. The reason we like quotes is we're no longer the sayer. It gives us a chance to be spoken to by ourselves. We get to have a dialogue. Anytime, this is just downloading. I'm not sure, I haven't vetted it, the information, but every time we say a quote, we know it's from somebody else and it speaks life into us in a particular moment that teaches us, even though it may be in a group setting or a one-on-one setting, but it gives us a chance to learn more about the moment through somebody else's education, sharing, however that goes.
Maybe it's similar to your advocacy for saying thank you. It sets us up for what has already happened.
Yep. Absolutely. It allows us to be smarter in the moment without us having to be the smart one, but we kind of, in the eyes of the observer, people say, oh my God, I love all the quotes you share. I just shared them. Thank you for that. So we get recognition for being able to repeat somebody else's words. But yes, and thank you is that. It sets us up for something that's already happened. It's usually why a quote comes to life, is something has already happened. And they were able to say it succinctly, but being able to say thank you sets us up for a state of gratitude in that moment. So, Bob, thank you.
So it sets us up to step into the future in a way that we wouldn't ordinarily consider doing that. We get to take on the attributes of the quote.
I think what just kind of slipped out, what you just said, allows us to step into the future, which in a way we wouldn't ordinarily do so. Right. I think that phrase is as powerful as anything I heard here today, which most quotes seem to slip out from people as somebody goes, ooh, that was good. I don't know too many people sitting around writing quotes. That one allows us, what are we doing to allow ourselves to slip into the future that we wouldn't normally have been able to do? And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Charlie.
Yeah, that's right. He just came up with a really good one. You need to write that one down.
Yeah, well, I've got that one memorized already.
It's on the recording.
Exactly. What are you doing right now to allow yourself to slip into the future in a way you wouldn't normally do it? Robert Parks, circa 2019. This is what happened. Go ahead, please, Melissa.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat that one more time?
See, it was good.
So, what are you doing now that would allow you to slip into the future in a way you wouldn't normally, a t-shirt, in a way you wouldn't normally have done so? Being aware of things, reading new things, reading the Bible, right? Today's Sunday. A lot of people are reading the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, whatever it is that they're reading to go get resource, to go get information from, to see how to live their life a better way. What we're doing on a regular basis through these masterminds, what are we doing to allow ourselves to slip into the future in a way we wouldn't have normally slipped into it? That's what these do. That's what hanging around cool people do. That's what reading good books and paying attention and even reading our journals. There's stuff I will go back. Okay, so you just saw me flip this open. What is it that makes someone ready for anything? Now, this was back June 24th. This is of 18. This was June 24th of 18, because I knew that wasn't this year, because we haven't hit June 24th yet. But when you go back and you read your journal, it'll allow you to slip into the future in a way you weren't already prepared for. That's why it's so important to journal. That's what all of this is this is us having our memories are our journals. And what Bob just revealed to us, it allows us a way to slip into the future we wouldn't normally be prepared for. How cool is this?
Peter Crone presents a corollary in a way to it. He says, who would you be and what becomes available to you in the absence of all your concerns? So in a way, by stepping into the essence of those quotes, we're abandoning our concerns for another state of being, another way of thinking, another way of imagining ourselves, to become somebody else in the absence of those concerns. Who would you be and what becomes available to you in the absence of your concerns? If you satisfy or stave off the drunk monkey, what's possible?
Yeah, what popped into me was back to high school. Who would I have asked out to go to prom had I not been concerned with what I thought they would have said?
Right.
How cool is this? And how many times have we read passages and just thought, oh, cool words. But here's all of a sudden now the DNA that it triggers in us because we take time to breathe in the words, to breathe into it. And I love what Bob just shared is what would happen if you weren't tied to the concerns that you think could happen. Addiction to approval, drunk monkey. I love this. These are so cool. 14,000 words are happening right now, whether you know it or not. 14,000 words a minute are running through your head at a subconscious level. They're running at a subconscious level. And this is where now listening to my voice, even in between the words of my voice, the sounds of the words, our dialogues are still happening. Monologues are still running in your head from your past. This is, if these are syncing in time and space with you, it's only because your brain has been able to next the idea, the thought, the concept of you having a greatness that has yet to be revealed. It's why these inspire us, is because there's a greatness that's inside all of us that is waiting to hear stuff like this, to give us the courage, the strength to be able to step up, step out against our old self, our old patterns, and deal with the concerns of our past and say, those no longer exist. Those no longer are a threat to me. What are you doing now that will allow you to slip into a future a way you wouldn't have done so before? Robert Parks, 2019. This is what a mastermind is. A mastermind isn't you not getting onto a webinar and somebody preaching at you for an hour and at the end of it saying, buy my stuff so you can be like me. This is a mastermind that Napoleon Hill talked about. When two minds get together, a third is created. Bob may have said that phrase 1,000 times before, but in this moment, in this time and space, it's synced in such a way because we were preconditioned based upon what happened previous to be able to hear that, absorb that, and not let it slip by. Like so many times people trip over success, they pick themselves up and they keep walking.
But I never said that way before. It's a result of being in the mastermind today.
So what do we all say about live events? You can't beat them. Big decisions are made at big events. This was powerful. Have I told y'all I love y'all? Oh. So now we know what it's like, and we can giggle about it and think maybe it's true or not true. But one of the things that they used to talk about in Seneca was that all of this philosophy used to take place, and the Greek word for it translated into English is porch. And I forget what the Greek word is, but I know it sunk with me when they said that all of this philosophy used to take place in a town square. It used to take place on a porch, and a porch was a place you sat with friends. And so that's what most of this philosophy is. It is porch based. It is friends having a conversation with friends. And all of the greatest quotes that we ever had stumbled out of somebody's mouth in such a way that somebody said, that makes sense. And so now could you imagine in 265 BC, sitting with either Epictetus. Epictetus was AD, but Epicurus was BC. But these two philosophers, Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, were Roman. And Epictetus was Greek, and Marcus Aurelius and the one prior to him, they were Roman. But could you imagine sitting in a town square, there's a fountain behind, and you just happen to stroll up upon this fountain, listening to somebody spouting information, spouting a teaching. And this has become a philosophy by which so many cultures have been designed, right? We go back to Buddha. Buddha was not accepted at his time. He traveled the country for 40 years trying to get the lords of the different communities, the different nations, to follow this teaching and philosophy. And at his time, there was only 13, 14 people who ever followed around with him, his tribe, if you will, his handlers, to use a better expression. But for 30 or 40 years, he traveled to try to get to sit down with the leaders, the rulers of their own countries, the rulers of their own nations, to get them to change the way they look at things. But now, 2,000 years later, his teachings are being taught in school as the reason, as the foundation of why China is having its acceleration, because it's going back to humanity. And how did all of these things, because at some moments somebody paid attention, and even the presenter doesn't understand sometimes the greatness of their statement. We just witnessed a small example of that, a big example of this. There's people who have been around you that have heard you say things that have inspired them, that they have written down, that you may never know. The challenge is, I love it, Rob. The challenge is that all too often, here's the challenge. Too many people take this information and pass it on as their own. How many times have we seen that? They take a quote and they pass it on as their own quote. The challenge is the quote loses its efficacy because everybody knows that we're an idiot. and you didn't overnight all of a sudden become this great philosopher of influence that, I love that, this great philosopher of influence that has the depth to be able to have expressed that quote. So I would encourage us, as we use these quotes and use these expressions, to always refer back to who it was, because people who see you may have said that, but they may not realize the greatness of that quote unless they know from whence it came. Bob gets to
we know of their teachings because they journaled, because they wrote it down. When they actually had a thought, they actually put it down immediately. They recorded it.
It's why we need to use either our audio on our phone. I have hundreds of hours of messages to myself, but I'm telling you, this stuff, I mean, think of it. I just opened it up. What is it that makes someone ready for anything? And the next line, what will steal blind enthusiasm? I know where this came from. I was in a boot camp at Manatech. This came from Richard Bliss Brooks. Now, I don't know where he got it from, but that's who my author is now. What will steal blind enthusiasm? I can say I was there. I can say I was at the town square called a Zoom when I heard the Parks quote. How cool is that? And now the humbleness of Bob to think, yeah, that was pretty good, but it was all of us. It was this moment. It was the energy in this moment. This was one that you will see me quoting, because it's freaking cool. It's just cool. What else is showing up for us all?
Now I have his image of Sean actually in the town square with a toga and a wreath on his head.
That's what I'm going for as Halloween. Who are you? Epictetus, AKA Bob Parks. Are you outside, Rob?
Yes, I'm actually at my son's baseball game, and he actually just got out of a slump of 0 for 12 and had a RBI. Kind of excited actually, because he's been struggling, but they're in the semifinals, and they're winning like 9-0 here, and they're gonna go into the championship at 1 o'clock. So
defeat ends when we launch into an interesting battle. The slump is over. The new battle begins. The championship. How cool is that?
Yep, that's exciting.
And he's still able to put up a virtual background. Isn't technology cool? Anything else before I let Bob back to his game? Rob back to his game, and Charlie to go sit and be the thinker for a little while.
Well, really quick. So, I mean, one of my favorite quotes is "Be where you are." And although I am, and I'm kind of taking a moment to be away from the game and everything else, this literally is so important to me now, this group and this call, and to be able to actually and just feed myself and my soul And again, I can't thank everyone enough always. But it also allows me to be, like as Sean says, a better dad, better, better spouse, better person. But I know it's kind of multitasking, watching my son play and be on the call, but it's awesome.
Well, there's that other phrase, best of both worlds. Because here's the thing, you being here and the energy you have and the excitement you have, that DNA reflects back into your son. Maybe you're the one that helped him get the RBI, even though he's the one on the field. The critic, right? The critic belongs to the man in the arena. So you're also in the arena with him because you're there with him. How cool. Anyone else?
Can you talk a little bit about journaling?
Journaling. So journaling is where you just take down your ideas, right? So this is one half of a year of my journaling, and I write down each day the things I learned, the experiences I've had. I carry a journal. I carry this with me all the time, even when I go to meetings, right? Because I put this down as a reference for me, as a place to go back and look at stuff, and look at information. But I would encourage you to journal each night and each morning, right? Jim Rohn says, don't start your day until it's finished on paper. So Melissa, what you do is each night is write down the lessons you've learned, and then ask your brain, what things do you need what do you need for tomorrow? What contact would benefit you in your life? Who would it be cool to meet that could help you advance your career, advance your success? And then in the morning, write down just your goals. What are your goals for the day? And the reason that you want to write them down is because it's the kinesthetic, it's the kinesiology of engaging the hand and actually creating something, seeing it created, as opposed to, I know your generation is very used to using the phone, but if you get a pen and paper, there's just something about that field that the brain is still designed for. The brain's gone through 3 changes. Scott Schilling talks about this, where we went from the spoken word to the written word, where people started doing stuff on cave walls, right? 26,000 years ago, we can see stuff written on cave walls. Then 1492, I think it was, the Gutenberg press. We went from the written word to the duplicated word, to the book, to where we're able to store knowledge. We used to store it on cave walls, and now we were able to store it on knowledge in a book. And then the last transition is your generation, to where we went from storing knowledge to having infinite knowledge on a cell phone, the internet. And now there's no reason to store knowledge. Your generation and beyond will think, well, I can get anything I want through my cousin Google. But what journaling does, it allows you to store your knowledge, your experience, your life history for people and yourself to review back and say, okay, here's the lessons I've learned. Because we always say in personal development, the lessons will continue, the pain will continue until the lessons are learned. So if there's something you're doing on a consistent basis that hurts, that doesn't feel good, it's because we forgot the lesson that was in the message. And that's where journaling allows us to begin to store this knowledge of awareness and awakenedness. So, and you can Google a whole bunch of stuff, and you and I can have a conversation, or you can ask anybody on the group, what is it that you journal? But that's pretty much what it is. And if anybody else wants to share with that to help Melissa, Melissa is this amazing, beautiful 19-year-old soul who is, for her to be on the call again, absolutely honored.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really like that quote, the pain will continue until the lesson has been learned.
Yep. So what is the pain you're experiencing? And then ask yourself, Bob would say, ask yourself, what's the experience you have? What would happen if you didn't have that pain? What would be available to you in life if that pain no longer existed? And then when you answer that question, then the next question is what things necessary would need to take place, or what would I have to do different to avoid that pain? And we have the answers. Very cool. Y'all are amazing souls. Guess what? The awakening Zoom now has in it weekends. So we got it all covered. Y'all are awesome. I will let you to your amazing Sunday. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your joy. Thank you for your smiles. Seen or unseen, the energy is felt. And guess what? You get to make a decision today. You can go be good to yourself. Go have some fun. Go smile a little bit more today. Go say thank you a little bit more often. And ask yourself, what are you doing now that would allow you to slip into your future in a way you wouldn't have done so before? AKA Charlie. Love you tons. I'll see you all where? Look at that background on Rob's page. I'll see you all where? That's right, at the next event. Till then, bye for now, everybody. Love you tons.